All right, viewers, the final phase, the first phase of polling, campaigning for that ends today. Like I said, briefly so, as electioneering for the second phase picks up. But all eyes on who has the advantage where phase one is concerned. And like I pointed out, we're going to cut across to our band of editors who've been on ground, encapsulating the mood, the best ground reports, the most exclusive interviews. But ultimately, it's all up to the voters now, where the first phase of elections is concerned in Bihar. Now, the spotlight shifts to the voters.
The dust and din of Bihar's high-voltage campaign has finally settled, at least for now. Campaigning for the first phase of polling has officially come to a close, with both the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan pulling out all stops in the final pitch to voters. Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrapped up the NDA's campaign blitz with a special outreach to women party workers under his Mera Booth Sabse Mazboot initiative, urging them to ensure the coalition's double-engine government continues its development push. Union Minister Amit Shah sharpened the attack on the RJD, warning that a return of the opposition would mean a return to Jungle Raj.
राबड़ी और लालू का जंगल राज देखा, ये जंगल राज चेहरा बदलकर, कपड़े बदलकर, भेष बदलकर चुपके से वापिस आना चाहता है.
From the Mahagathbandhan side, Rahul Gandhi went for a sharp personal attack. He doubled down on his remote control drive against Chief Minister Nitish Kumar.
बिहार के लोगों को लगता है कि नीतीश जी की सरकार है. नीतीश जी का कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. जैसे टीवी पे आप चैनल बदलते हो ना, ठक 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 चैनल बदलते हो ना, वैसे नीतीश जी का चैनल बदलते हैं मोदी जी, शाह जी. बटन दबाते हैं, खट जो चाहिए नीतीश जी करते हैं.
RJD leader and the opposition's chief ministerial face, Tejashwi Yadav, struck a confident note, claiming victory even before the first ballot is cast.
लोगों का पूरा मूड जो है इस बार बदलाव का है, परिवर्तन का है, और इस बार बिहार की जनता जो है 20 साल पुरानी जो सरकार चल रही है उसको उखाड़ फेंकने का काम करेगी.
As loudspeakers fall silent and leaders return to their bases, Bihar now turns to its voters, the real decision makers, who will cast their votes in the first phase on November 6th. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the spotlight now on the voters where 121 seats of Bihar are concerned. The first phase of polling on the 6th of November. For these 121 seats, the electioneering drums have fallen silent. The focus now shifts to the second phase where campaigning is concerned. But it will be the voters who hold the key to the 121 seats. What they will decide, we'll know when that last vote is counted come the 14th of November. Let's cut across right now to our editors, our band of psephologists, our reporters on ground on what they feel could influence the first phase of voting. Joining me, our consulting editor, Rajdeep Sardesai, who's been hitting the campaign trail over the last couple of days. My colleague Maria Shakir, who comes in, belongs to Bihar, has been in Bihar reporting for the last couple of weeks. I have with me as well Dr. Manisha Priyam, political analyst, Amitabh Tiwari, founder Vote Vibe, Rajat Sethi, political analyst, Yashwant Deshmukh, founder C Voter, Pradeep Gupta, chairman, managing director, Access My India, Ashutosh, political analyst. So we've got a full house. We're going to break it down on what are the X factors as Bihar goes into the first phase of polling for 121 seats. I want to begin with Rajdeep Sardesai, our consulting editor. Rajdeep, you've been on ground over the last couple of days. What do you make? What are the X factors? Who has the edge going in on the first phase of polling?
You know, first time I came to Bihar was 1995, Preeti, and that's when I learned of a MY factor called Muslim Yadav, who largely remained at the time with Lalu Prasad. 30 years later, back in Bihar, there's a new MY in town, Mahila and Yuva. No doubt in my mind that these are the two key demographics that will decide Bihar. Bihar is one of the youngest, if not the youngest demographic of voters. About 22% of them are in that age group of 18 to 29. And if you look under 40, it's 53%. It's a vote bank which is being targeted by Prashant Kishor, the disruptor. It's being targeted by Tejashwi Yadav. And then you've got the Mahila vote, which is clearly the core vote bank in a way of Nitish Kumar. What he has consciously tried to cultivate in 20 years in power through a series of measures. The most recent, of course, being the 10,000 rupees that have been provided to over 1.4 crores Jeevika Ditis. And the payments are even going on as the election campaign is going on. So I believe if there is a large woman turnout, advantage NDA, no doubt in my mind about that. If on the other hand, the male turnout is higher, then can Tejashwi Yadav do what he did 5 years ago and get a large chunk of the youth vote? I believe Prashant Kishor is consciously targeting that vote and therefore will get a sizable section. We don't know how much, but a sizable section of the male youth vote. So I think these are the two key factors, keeping in mind that in 2020, there were about 50 plus constituencies where the margin was just under 5,000. So I expect the big change, of course, that I've seen this time, unlike 5 years ago. 5 years ago, post-COVID, Preeti, I saw genuine anger on the ground. There was narazgi, there was disaffection. Now there is fatigue, but I don't see narazgi. And I think that is something that could hold the NDA in good stead. There isn't that sharp, hyper anti-incumbency that we saw 5 years ago. On the other hand, of course, because in some places you have triangular contests and because you have a new disruptor, we just don't know whose votes he will take. That might give some hope to the Mahagathbandhan. But the way I see it is that we are in an election in Bihar where the real choice that voters have is, do you want the status quo or do you want badlav? And I believe a large number of voters are still looking at status quo rather than badlav, as I saw 5 years ago when, as I said, post-COVID, there was genuine narazgi on the ground.
Also, Rajdeep, you've practically stated there that the NDA has the edge as per you going into the first phase where 121 seats are concerned. I would recognize, bring in Maria for someone who knows Bihar, who belongs to Bihar, comes from here, has studied its politics very closely. There are, Maria, this has to be one of the most complex elections that one has covered. There are multiple layers to it. Rajdeep says, he's going to be closely watching the MY factor. And actually, my perspective in all of this, Maria, is also that one needs to closely look at the caste dynamics. Very often we say that we speak too much when it comes, when it comes down to caste in the state of Bihar. But the vote is caste in Bihar. I have traveled across now 7-8 districts, and everywhere I have gone, it does seem that the caste fault lines are so well entrenched that at many places, if people actually want change, they are looking at a negative vote to actually defeat a particular caste than to just vote their own. So it ultimately is coming in on caste lines, Maria. What have you picked up?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Preeti. Caste remains the dominant issue in Bihar, as it has been in multiple elections. Only demographic which seems to be caste neutral is even today the Mahila of Bihar, not as much as youth, according to my reading. But the irony is, as Rajdeep rightly pointed out, that this is the youngest state based on its demographics, and this state is still voting on the basis of the memories. So the youngest state will go to polls on 6th and 11th, but it's the memories of the two leaders of JP movement, 20 years of Nitish Kumar and 15 years of Lalu Yadav, which is still dominating the narrative. For if you are in your caste blocks, you are looking at it from that prism. So for women of Bihar, they are talking about not just this 10,000 which has come into their accounts just ahead of elections and in between elections. They're also talking about how Nitish Kumar nurtured them consistently. So this 10,000 is only ensuring that fatigue is neutralized and giving them another reason to vote for Nitish Kumar. Now, looking at the contradictions, among the caste groups, I'm also sensing a lot of contradictions, and that's what is making this election intriguing at the same time. The Yadav constituency is usually known to be vociferous. They are tactically silent this time. The silent voters of Nitish Kumar are loud, speaking about the good work of Nitish, and at the same time talking about what happened 20 years ago in the alleged, Jungle Raj years of Lalu Yadav. So I would say that those contradictions that you are sensing in the behavioral pattern of various caste groups make these elections complex. Largely, Nitish Kumar remains the dominant image of this election. He is the overarching theme, even as in certain pockets, elections become localized.
Well, you are right there, Maria, because I am sensing that in at least certain pockets, the election is hyper-local. That primarily comes down to the candidate. And it's interesting because I haven't seen that happen in Bihar, at least in the last two elections. But yes, caste holds the key. I am, in Muzaffarpur. I was in Darbhanga and Madhubani this morning, only purely tracking the Malla vote. And interesting. Because the Malla vote could be one of the factors that could be, an X factor as well in this election. I want to bring in Amitabh Tiwari, who's with us, and we're going to cut across to our other panelists as well. But Amitabh Tiwari, you have been tracking the first phase of polling very closely. You've been on ground in the state of Bihar. What, according to you, are the X factors, both for the NDA and the Mahagathbandhan, going into phase one?
No, essentially, if you see the phase one of 2020, it was almost tied between the two alliances. So this time, I think the NDA is itching to take a lead from here because some of the, you can say, the issues which had impacted Bhojpur, Shabad and the Magadh regions seem to have been sorted out from the NDA fold. See, what is essentially caste is going to play a key role. There are almost 105 seats where the same social group has been winning in Bihar in the past 3 elections. Incidentally, the NDA is banking on the fact that this trend is likely to hold or continue, and they have fielded 81 candidates of the same social group on those seats, 81 out of 105. Whereas perhaps the Mahagathbandhan feels that this trend of a particular caste domination on a particular seat might not hold, and they have fielded only 59 candidates from the same social group on those 105 seats. Nitish Kumar is the, you can say, the X factors of all X factor, because ultimately in the Bihar Premier League, it seems that the allies of BJP and JDU, the smaller parties, they are facing tougher contests largely against the RJD and dependent upon a smooth vote transfer of BJP and JDU, which leaves the JDU or the onus on JDU to perform much better than what they had done last time with a strike rate of 37%. And the entire nichode of this election lies in the contest which the Congress is likely to face against the BJP and JDU, almost 50 seats. And that is going to decide the dasha and disha of this election largely. There are some caste movements, you can say, the Malla community seeing that Mukesh Sahni could be the deputy CM, a section of it is veering towards the Mahagathbandhan. But again, as Maria said, there are wheels within wheels in Bihar, because a certain section of the EBC community also sees the Malla community as an aggressive caste, just like the Yadavs. So is it going to add to the anti-Yadav, anti-Malla? So it's a new MY now, Malla Yadav, which also we need to take care of in this election. So Mahila Yuva, Muslim Yadav and Malla Yadav also.
But, when you talk of Malla Yadav, Amitabh Tiwari, I'm coming in, I've spent the last day and a half tracking the Malla vote, especially, in the northern areas of Darbhanga, Madhubani, as well as Muzaffarpur. And it's not that Mukesh Sahani has been able to galvanize the vote for the Mahagathbandhan. The Malla community had voted quite a bit for the NDA, mostly for the NDA the last time around, and you still see those fault lines yet. So how much of that vote they'd be able to pull would be interesting. What could be the other factors of this, X factors of this election? Cutting across to Yashwant Deshmukh, who's been looking at numbers closely. Yashwant Deshmukh, who are you betting on? Who has the edge going into the first phase of elections?
Well, Preeti, oddly one, I am the only one sitting in the studio at the moment and now everybody else is in the field. So actually I can only give the numbers and ask you to validate it if that makes any sense. What I feel that this election is going to be and only about the female voters and female voters turnout. This way, that way, good, bad, ugly, whichever way it goes as per everybody's appreciation. What I also feel that, as I have mentioned earlier on the program as well, that Nitish Kumar's connection with the female voters of Bihar cannot be compared with the one-off schemes of Eknath Shinde or for that matter Hemant Soren or for that matter even Shivraj Singh Chauhan. So because it's a generational policy and generational connection that Nitish Kumar has with the female voters, and as Rajdeep rightly said, there has been a fatigue factor, no doubt about that, but there is no anger whatsoever against Nitish Kumar. So bottom line, Preeti, is that keep an eye on the female turnout in the first phase. If the female turnout is higher than the male, Nitish Kumar is going to be back again. If it is the other way around, it's going to open a window of opportunity for Tejashwi Yadav. But either ways, I believe that this election is going to be a watershed moment, Preeti, for the future of election and electoral politics in India. The way Indian politicians are going to look how to win elections. Are they going to go for the knee-jerk Labharti and cash dole-outs or something? Or they are going to look at the generational policy change that, okay, 10,000 is not how you read it. You have to read that 10,000 in conjunction with the Poshak Yojana, with the bicycles, with the fees, with the scholarships
but
and
I think,
everything.
Right. I think Yashwant, both Maria and Rajdeep will agree that at least this election is quite the way traditional elections were concerned. And it's really not, maybe Rajdeep does, but I don't see a massive change where people are bucking the caste dynamic, where they are going away, from what many would say cash for vote transfers. But I'm going to bring in Pradeep Gupta. I believe we have Pradeep Gupta as well with us. Rajdeep, Maria, if you want to come in, please feel free to ask your questions. But Pradeep Gupta, 121 seats, first phase of elections. Who has the edge according to you? What are you looking out for?
So, Preeti, I do not have a straight answer for this. I am also going to Bihar, like all three of you are there on 6th, which is the first phase, and try and find out the answer for you. Now, coming to what is going to impact the most among all these demography, which has been discussed just now, from caste to women voter to youth voter, I mean, there is not a single % doubt when it comes to Bihar. 80 to 90% people vote in Bihar basis on the caste. Coming to the female, we all know that in Bihar, the vote caste 55 to women and 45 to male. This is the 10% spread difference. This is where the real play lies. But having said that, the difference between winning party and the loser party is few percentage point always, even if it is going to the 5%, which is too much of a difference. Where this 5% gap is going to come, this is something need to be seen. And to my knowledge, Dalit, and when I say Dalit, there are about 16% total Dalit in Bihar and about 4% Malla community. According to me, these 20% will decide the fate of the Bihar election. And within Dalit, there is a Paswan, there is a Jatav, and there is other Dalit, Musar, etc., which is about, say, 5, 5, 6. This is the Dalit combination. We all know that the 5% of Paswans are more largely aligned towards the NDA. The 5% of the Jatav is more skewed towards Gathbandhan. But those 6% non-Jatavs plus 4% this Mallas, which is non-Dalit, but Mallas, Nishad votes, according to me, is going to decide the fate of the Bihar. All other
right, so
castes are
Dalit vote
by
and
and
the
large
Malla vote.
aligned.
We're going to
All other
circle back
caste
to it.
communities are aligned. If at all somebody is going to shift, that too in large number,
True.
this is the community to look forward.
I agree with you, because it would all depend on who leaks these particular castes to the other side of the divide, and that's what's important. We've been trying to track the Malla vote as well as the Dalit vote, but I want to bring in Ashutosh. Ashutosh, a lot has been said about the Mahila vote. Yashwant said, I'll be looking at the Mahila vote very closely. Rajdeep has touched upon the Mahila vote, but Sorry, somebody wants to come in? Who wants to come in? Okay, Ashutosh, I want to come back to you on that.
Yeah.
Ashutosh, I want to come back to you on that question. A lot of focus on the Mahila vote right now, Ashutosh. And is it already a constituency that is converted? Because you talk to the people in the Mahagathbandhan and the first thing the leader says, कि ये तो पहले से ही vote दे रहे थे. Where will that extra Mahila vote come from? Will a Yadav Mahila vote for the NDA? Will the other sets that have been aligned towards the Mahagathbandhan vote for the NDA? How are you gauging that?
See, Priti, before answering a question, let me put two things. First of all, I still prefer that the caste polarization is much better than the communal polarization, and the Bihar has been at the forefront because it has stopped the communal polarization and the divide between Hindus and the Muslims. So that way, caste polarization I always prefer. Secondly, the caste is not a monolithic category anyway. So even within the Dalits, if you look at the Paswan can say that they command Dalit votes, but there is a serious problem between the Ravidasya and the Paswan itself. So any analysis on the basis of one particular caste or one particular community and imagining that they are the monolith is full of problems. The second point is, I think on paper, if you look at on the basis of the social base are the caste combinations, NDA looks much better. But in terms of political arithmetic, if you see, NDA is a weaker on this point. Because today, if I see a clear contradictions between the BJP and JDU and LJP. When Nitish Kumar is not projected as the chief minister, will the JDU voters support BJP candidates? I have my own doubts. And what about the Chirag Paswan and has the JDU voter forgotten the 2020 when Chirag Paswan really backstabbed Nitish Kumar? So will JDU voter are going to vote for the Chirag Paswan candidate on 29 seats? I keep my fingers crossed. So on paper it looks much better, but in political sense I see serious problems within the NDA alliance. About the women voters, I still think that the women voter is again not a monolith. There is a Muslim women, there is a Yadav women, there is a Malla women, there is a Kurmi women, and all of them vote according to their choices. Yes, I understand that there is a propensity of women voters voting more for the Janata Dal United, but all these women will also vote for the BJP candidates. Will they vote for the Chirag Paswan candidate? Will they vote for the Jitan Majid candidate?
I'll circle back to you. I believe Maria
So
has something to add as well, as I want to bring in Manisha Priyam. But Ashutosh, the issues that you think that the NDA has, there is a fair amount of issue that the Mahagathbandhan has. I was on the seat of Bachwada yesterday, which was lost by a margin of less than 500 votes the last time around. This time around, you have the Congress as well as the CPIM fighting it out in what they call a friendly contest, which is far from friendly, if you actually look at it. And the RJD really doesn't know who to support. And in the midst of it, the BJP could very well once again win a seat that they've only won once in 2020 ever in the history of Bihar. And there are not just one friendly fight, like I pointed out in Bachwada, there are 11 friendly fights across Bihar where the Mahagathbandhan is concerned. And on ground, you do not see a cohesiveness or a sense of unity where the Mahagathbandhan alliance is concerned. I'll come back to you, sir. There are other people who want to make a point. Maria wants to come in and we'll cut across to Dr. Manisha Priyam post that. Maria, go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Preeti, I have two questions for Pradeep Gupta. Because, you know, in the context of Bihar, we do not discuss Dalits and Jatavs enough. We talk about other caste groups, we talk about EBCs, but not as much as Dalits and Jatavs. Since he is talking about that 10%, I want to understand from him what makes them so critical first. And second, women of Bihar have been caste neutral in the last 10 to 15 years. Can the youth of Bihar emerge as a caste neutral constituency in this election? Pradeep Gupta.
Maria, first of all, I do not agree with you as far as the women goes, as you are mentioning the caste. Not at all, not at all. Yadav women and Muslim women, you know what it means, you know. So forget that. Now coming to the youth, you are saying youth may be the caste neutral because youth is a youth. You know, their expectation, their aspirations, and so forth is riding on a different ball game altogether. I would say their needs are totally different as of their parents. That's number one. Number two, the youth is someone who influence the decision making on multiple things within the family for sure. Not a single percent doubt onto that. Now, whether that will be decisive enough or the good enough to, you know, shift the sides. When I say shift the side, can MY, meaning Yadav minority, start voting to the NDA, or the upper caste, the, you know, Bhumiyars and the Thakurs and the, you know, the Brahmins start voting towards the Mahagathbandhan youth? I am talking about particular. This is something to be seen, and in what numbers. That number is also occasional 10 to 50% points is not going to make much of a difference within the consistency of youth, because they already have about
But Pradeep, I'll come back to you on that question of the Brahmin or the upper caste vote. How much of that youth upper caste vote will go to Prashant Kishor? Rajdeep touched on it in the beginning, and a lot of people are closely watching, because even though it's going down into the caste lines, many people are looking, especially from the upper caste youth, at Prashant Kishor as a plausible option. I'll come back to you. Let me quickly get in our other two guests who haven't had a word in. Rajat Sethi, Manisha Priyam, beginning with Rajat Sethi. Rajat Sethi, who are you looking at? What are the factors that you're looking at? The light's gone where we are right now, but Rajat Sethi, over to you.
So, Preeti, I like to analyze elections in first principles, and first principles give us far more answers than overly complicated analysis at times. We remember the Maharashtra election, where I think one of the fiercest caste sort of war and the tug of war was happening between castes, the dominant castes and the OBC castes, and we saw that just the cash transfers to women swayed the entire election from one side to the other. And you know, when you have such pervasive schemes like women cash benefits, even a 1 or 2% swing is all that it takes to completely sway the election. So that is a very broad brush that we've used on the canvas. First. Second is the arithmetic. The way Bihar's constituents have been structured along for the past so many years and has condensed, solidified, ossified in ways that combination of Nitish plus any other front tends to arithmetically give an advantage to that front. In 2020 was just a sheer outlier event because it was right under the shadows of COVID, and this is where it went close. Otherwise, a Nitish plus anybody sort of a combination is good enough to sway the final results into that favor. And this is where I believe the NDA has a head start. Did NDA not commit mistakes? That's not true. BJP also, at least made mistakes in at least 5 to 6 seats. Will BJP be able to, build up a narrative? They have done a far better job than what was anticipated because of an ailing Nitish Kumar and an anti-incumbency building up. But look at the aggregate. Today, the answering has to be done by the opposition. That is a big mistake, that the opposition was not able to build up the pressure of anti-incumbency that was expected out of them to do. And right now, BJP is piling up allegations after allegations, anecdotes after anecdotes. And it is like opposition should have prepared for these questions right at the outset. These were the first set of questions where they should have answers. And the first phase is about to be over now. And I'm still looking for answers, confidently trying to face the allegations which is coming from the BJP and Nitish. Look at the kind of slogans that are going around. It is, for JDU, people felt that, Nitish is aging. There is anger against Nitish, and people are not today talking that Nitish se nahi hai, he is 2030 tak Nitish. So people are coming out of that mold where his age is being respected. Being the Naveen Patnaik of Odisha of sorts, where, a respect is attributed to his entire political, years that he has dedicated to the cause of Bihar. And that singular attack that he is not being named as a candidate or he is unfit to rule Bihar, all of these are not the talk of the town now. And I believe this is where narrative-wise NDA has been, along with the two other broad brush factors which are working.
But, Rajat, okay. No, Rajat, fair point there. But, I also think a lot of the narrative that we see on television screens and social media is actually not really playing out on ground. I want to bring in Manisha Priyam, and I do quite agree with what Pradeep Gupta said, Manisha Priyam, because it'll come down to caste. Most of the caste groups are tied. One needs to look at what maybe Prashant Kishor is taking away. From who is he taking away? Is it the upper caste youth vote? What I would closely watch, like Pradeep Gupta said, will be the Malla vote and the Dalit non-Jatav vote. We have gone into many of the non-Jatav bastis, Pradeep Gupta, and there is a sense of fear. There is a sense of a fear of jungle Raj there, because this was a persecuted community, and they do feel that if they decide to go the Mahagathbandhan way, they are very scared of the Yadavs coming back to power. It's something that you hear resonate on ground in the non-Jatav villages. The Mallas this time split, especially after that political dip of Rahul Gandhi. That seems to have, at least helped in the optics of it all. But Manisha Priyam, your 2 bits, your 2 cents, ma'am, coming in a little late to you on how you look at Bihar. You come from Bihar, going into first phase. What are your X factors?
Okay, thanks so much. And just give me 2 moments. I'll talk about the woman vote, but first the politics of it all. And I do tend to agree with Pradeep Gupta and your assessment of it, but I will say it's a far more nuanced Bihari election than any I have seen before. And I think in the first phase itself, it's not even caste, it's jati that matters. Remember all the tail-end coalitions that the NDA has put together, far more than any narrative that Rajat Sethi is talking about. They have been very important for the NDA. They remember very much that in the Lok Sabha elections, it was the Magad Shahabad region where the NDA performed very poorly. So this time around, even in a place like Nevada, where the sitting member of parliament, Vivek Thakur, leads in his assembly constituencies, he's taken away an important Yadav leader, Rajdeep Yadav, and his wife Veena Devi, but they've also found a Kanu candidate. Now, Kanu is the caste that Sudhama Prasad, the CPIML MP, who defeated R.K. Singh, comes from. So far more than just the Thakur. Remember, Biharis don't know Thakur as a caste. We talk about Rajputs. Now, far more than the Rajputs or the Bhumihars, I think the tail-end coalitions of the NDA, whether it be with Jitan Ram Majhi ji, whether it be with Upender Kushwaha ji, who doesn't win his own elections, but these matter very much, somewhat Chirag Paswan, but these matter very much for the NDA, and the NDA has been very careful to nurse each of these, including Nitish Kumar. Remember, if these were not important, why would a party that wants to build its pitch on Jungle Raj place its heaviest bets on somebody like Anant Kumar? And you saw him play out his Chote Sarkar irrespective of what was happening in the Home Ministry and the Prime Minister-led campaign. He played his own games. Now, I want to add here that the smaller votes are so important, Preeti, and allow me to make this point, that Dular Chand Yadav was actually stitching up a coalition between the Dhanuks and the Yadavs. The castes that you are saying are not very good. The Dhanuks are agricultural laborers who actually collect and gather the grains that fall behind when you are weighing the grains. So the poorest of the poor, the most marginalized, matter the most for the Magad Shahabad belt. And we are looking at local revolutions, not just seat by seat. Anand Singh will have an influence on many more. Remember also the Bahubalis are having a hell of a time from both sides. There's Munna Shukla's daughter. There's also Anand Mohan, under discussed. There's also Ritlal Yadav. But I would also want to add just a line to the youth votes. Remember, the youth vote, more than the woman vote, the youth is a class today, and that is because the poorest Bihari youth is looking for a toehold into a bharti, a sarkari naukri. the only way out
Right.
from agricultural distress
You know, this show,
is for even
it's
one
too,
member of
we
the
had too
family
little time in this particular show. And you're right, Dr. Manisha Priyam. Magadh could be a swing region there. 2020 out of 26, the Mahagathbandhan had swept 20, 3 each to HAM, and the BJP, the JDU was wiped out. This time around, the focus on Magadh as well as, and I think something that Amitabh Tiwari will also agree with, Kosi, Madhubani, where I was, and Darbhanga, these regions and these districts and the Magadh region could actually decide the vote as well if we are going away from the caste dynamics. I'd like to give in just the last 2 minutes to each and just one line. Rajdeep, one X factor that you're looking at. What is that one X factor?
Cash, cash and more cash. In all these talks that I've been hearing about caste combinations, when you give 10,000 rupees to 75 lakh women couple of weeks before the election and then right through the election campaign, it's a managed democracy. All of you are giving all these analysis, seat by seat, hyper-local election. Trust me, as we've seen, Jagan Reddy was an exception, and Jagan Reddy was an exception.
But Rajdeep, are you actually saying that women who have never voted for the NDA, a Yadav woman today will come out, a Muslim woman, a Yadav woman today will come out and vote the NDA? Because that's a constituency that's already converted for the NDA. Do you think they'll get that vote from the Yadav or the Muslim women?
Every election since Nitish Kumar, 2010, 2015, 2020, look at all the 3 elections. Sizable lead among women for Nitish Kumar. This is not a one-off. The cash transfers is a topping. It is topping what already exists on the ground. My belief is that woman vote is far more entrenched than any other vote bank at the moment in Bihar. And therefore, I believe
so the
that
women
because
vote will
you've
only...
given that cash transfer at just the right time,
So
and
more
the
votes will
election
be added there. One quick line. Pradeep Gupta, do you agree with Rajdeep's analysis?
No, I
And who has
still
the edge,
holding-
Pradeep Gupta? Very quickly, sir.
I do not have that answer, but whoever has the edge among the 16% Dalit, within Dalits plus Malla 4%, these 20%, whoever has the edge is the winner.
I agree, sir. I agree, sir, because I feel the constituency of women is already converted. They're already voting for Nitish Kumar.
Mr. Pradeep Gupta,
Let me bring in Yashwant then. Yashwant, you agree. You are saying women vote.
Rajdeep, I will give you one more. Aam Aadmi Party lost the election in Delhi. Women voted more in favor of Aam Aadmi Party, apart from the Jagan Mohan Reddy.
Small state. Do not compare a small state to a large state like Bihar.
Okay, Rajdeep, I need to close this show. Yashwant, do you want to come and broker some peace in this? Very quickly, sir, 20 seconds.
Preeti, I refuse to believe that women cannot go caste agnostic. Women cannot leave the caste and women cannot go beyond what their families say. I refuse to believe that. And more so in Bihar, I mean, things are changing. We have seen at least 3 major elections in this country in the last 1 year where women have gone beyond the caste and religious lines. Otherwise, those kind of mandates were impossible to handle.
Okay, but do we sometimes treat women as a monolith vote bank? Because women, especially in Bihar, is not a monolith. There are multiple layers to it. Maria will agree, I'm sure. But alas, we've reached the end of this show. But this is something we'll pick up again tomorrow. It was an interesting conversation, especially for our viewers. Once again, it's curtains down on campaigning for the first phase. 121 seats. Go to vote come the 6th of November. For now, for the first phase, it's over to the voters. Thank you for joining us.